Hey everybody, today I want to show you a quick tutorial on how to grade Sony S-LOG2 video. Now S-LOG2 is a picture profile that you can put on a lot of Sony cameras, including some of the point and shoot, which is what I shot this video with, and the Alpha series models like the A6500 has S-LOG2. So a lot of camera models have it, and what it does is it allows you to shoot kind of a flat picture profile that allows you to have more control of the final image. So I'm going to show you how to do that today in Final Cut Pro, but if you have something like Adobe Premiere, you should be able to find these exact same tools or something very similar within your non-linear editing system to where you should be still able to follow along. If you've never shot S-LOG2 before, then stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll give you 2 tips to help you shoot S-LOG2 better and to allow you to have a better experience with S-LOG2. So I have a clip here in the timeline already. Let me go ahead and zoom into it. And you'll notice it's just like the previous one kind of on the left. It's ungraded. It looks flat. There's no real good shadows in these shadowy areas like under this canopy or in kind of the archway, like these 2 archways. So we're going to bring that back, but we're also going to bring back the color. And so the easiest way to do that is to use a couple of tools in Final Cut that are located in the video effects panel. So let's go ahead and go to the video effects panel. Then we're going to click on color, and it's going to bring up all our color effects. Or you can actually search for it by just typing in color right here, and that should bring up our tools as well. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure our clip is highlighted, which it is by having a yellow border around it, and we're going to double click on color wheels. And that's going to bring up the color wheels into our effects part of the inspector panel, which is this area right here. And then we're going to click right here on the little it's kind of a colorful looking like pizza slice or triangle, whatever you want to call it. And the first thing I want to do is, as you can tell, there is not a lot of color to this image. So let's bring back the saturation that we don't have in this image. And the easiest way to do that is to click on this master control lever, which is on the left side, is the saturation, and we're going to bring it all the way up. Now, that brings in a little bit of color. And if you look at the before and after, virtually no color. It's pretty much gray tones and already more color. So we'll start with that. The next thing we're going to do is adjust the exposure. And to help us with the exposure, we're going to use what's called a waveform monitor. And if you have Final Cut Pro, hit Command 7, and that brings up a new window like this. And if you don't see a window that looks like this, then click on this little icon right here underneath where it says View. And you're going to want to click and make sure that you have waveform checked under Scope, Luma checked, and then also IRE. So that's waveform, Luma, and IRE. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set a guide. And the guide will help us with the highlight portion of our exposure grading. Or during this color grade, I should say. It help with the exposure part of the color grade. And so if you don't have it, maybe it's hiding around 100. I think that's usually where it defaults. Just click on it, drag it up to 107, and leave it right there. We want to start by working left to right with these sliders over here. So shadows will be first, then highlights, then midtones. We don't want to use the master when it comes to exposure because we shot in S-Log to have more control. So let's start with the shadows. Our shadows need to be living more to where these valleys right here touch 0 or go just below. So we're going to drag this slider all the way down, and you'll notice when I drag it all the way down, it eventually stops. Just click on it again and keep dragging by pulling your mouse down, and boom, that looks pretty good. But you'll notice our mountain peaks have turned more into hills. So we want to bring our mountain peaks back up. So let's bring up the highlight slider, and you'll watch that the highlights are going to come up, and the same thing, this little lever stops. Just click on it again and bring it up to that line where we just set earlier. Now, some people might ask and say, well, what happens if I move a slider too much? How will I know it's too much? Well, one, you can kind of look at the image, but if you want another reference using this tool, the waveform, I'm going to exaggerate it by bringing it way up. And you'll notice that our mountain peaks become more like mountain plateaus. That means that we have clipped certain parts of this image, which we don't want. It's okay to bring it up a little bit, and if in fact you'll notice that this line is set just below where they start to clip. And that way I don't push too many of those mountain peaks above that line, therefore I don't have to worry about clipping. So let's bring it back down. We still have plateaus, there's the peaks, and maybe, you know, something like that. So yes, we do have some that are above and a little bit that maybe is below, but for the most part, we have a nice, clean looking image still. I'm gonna decrease the, or remove the waveform monitor for just a second by hitting Command 7 again. And if you look at our before and after, we had an image with no color, no dimension, and look, we have dimension again. Before, no shadows in this shadowy area under the canopy. The trees didn't really have a whole lot of dimension. The buildings don't have a lot of separation. These archways look flat and boring, and boom, we have the color back, we have dimension in this arch, that arch too. We have true shadows, as you should have for this time of year in Rome. This is taken during the winter, believe it or not, where the sun is pretty low in the sky all day long in Europe, and most of Europe, I should say. The daylight is very short. The sun doesn't get very high, so you almost have like a golden hour all day long, which is awesome for photographers. But the other thing you might notice is that, let me bring up the waveform monitor again, is that you'll see some color here in the middle, and that are kind of the orangey colors. That's our midtones, that's our buildings, that's where we want the midtones to kind of help us, give us some contrast, but that's where most of the color is. And you may sit here and go, well, why are you telling me that? Why am I looking for where the lot of the color is? Well, maybe we want to add a little bit more saturation, and most of the color is in the midtone areas. So let's use the saturation slider for the midtones only and bring it up until we get the color we like. You know, I like a little bit more vibrant colors for this scene. Rome has lots of colorful buildings, and I want my trees to be nice and colorful and all the colors to pop. So that looks really good as far as I'm concerned. The next thing you may ask and say, you know, my video looks a little bit fuzzy. Why is that? Well, the reason for that is if you shoot with the default profile, not only do you have to add back in saturation, but you also have to add back in sharpness. They pretty much remove all the sharpness from your video because they want you to have a very clean slate to color grade. So they are basically assuming you're going to go back and sharpen the video yourself. So go ahead and click on all again in your little video menu, and then search for sharpen, and there's the effect we want to add. We'll click on it, drag it to our clip, and you may say, well, I don't see anything. Well, that may be because you're still in the color wheels panel. So to get to where you would see sharpening, click on this little film strip, which takes you back to your effects part of the inspector, and you'll notice that the sharpening has been added. This is before we added the sharpening, this is after. This is the default setting of 2.5. In many cases, it will work. It's kind of a judgment call. You just have to decide. Some videos I like it maybe more about 1.5 or 2. But for this particular clip, I like what the sharpness does. It brings back the details in the windows, a little bit more detail in the bricks. I see a little bit more detail in this dome. So I'm okay with it. Now, I'm not sure if this can come across on the video or not. There is some grain in the sky. Now, if you go and watch a Hollywood film tonight, go watch some, and if you look at how they color grade, there are going to be scenes, even in daylight, where you're going to see grain. It's just part of the color grade process. Get used to it. Grain is kind of random, so in video, it's not as obvious or as annoying as it might be in a film. So let me play this back to kind of give you an idea, assuming you can see it. The grain isn't as noticeable, at least to me. It's not as annoying, it's not as distracting, and my eyes really focus in on these trees and the colorful buildings and such. The final thing I'm going to do is, to be quite honest, I find that this is a little bit too warm for my liking. If you look at how Hollywood color grade artists grade films, it all depends on the overall mood that they're wanting to go for. A war film, you know, might have more of a cool tone. A winter set movie might have more of a cool tone as well, whereas maybe like a love film, a romantic film, maybe a more warmer tone and vibrant colors. Well, I want the vibrant colors because Rome is colorful, but I don't really want it to look like summer because this was taken in December, so it's supposed to be cooler in Rome, not hot. So to do that, let's go back to our color wheels, and what we're going to do is we're going to either use the master slider or, again, where most of our colors are, the midtones. It shouldn't matter a whole lot which one you use. I'm going to go ahead and use the midtones one. And if you remember, maybe back to an art class, you have primary colors, complementary colors, and so on. Well, I'm not going to dive into that, but the same kind of logic applies. And what that means is if your film, so to speak, is kind of a warmer tone, then that means it's more orange or red and yellow. And the opposite of that will make it cooler. So if I look at this, I draw a diagonal line to the opposite quadrant, and that's where I'm going to pull the color to make it cooler. So I'm going to grab this slider, bring it to that next quadrant, and then move it around. And if you notice, this is where the blues kind of live, the blues and purple. So I'm going to bring it maybe more to kind of in this direction. And you'll notice that my video is a little bit cooler and maybe looks a little bit more wintry. Maybe my shadows, you know, I could, you know, mess with a little bit because while it was a little bit cooler, I kind of want to bring maybe a little bit warmth back to the shadows and then maybe mess the highlights just a tad. So again, it's all personal preference, which makes color grading a lot of fun. So this pretty much is the end of the color grading tutorial. It's a very basic overview, but you'll notice that we went from this, no color, and no dimension in the shadows like under this canopy part and in the trees, and then look how colorful and fun this image is. So finally, I promised that I'd give you 2 tips at the beginning of the video on how to shoot S-Log, because you're probably like, oh my goodness, I want to take my camera out right now and go shoot S-Log2. And that's awesome. I hope you go out and do that. But before you shoot it, you need to know that S-Log requires you shooting it a certain way to get good results. If you don't shoot it this way, then you're probably going to be a bit disappointed in your footage. So the biggest #1 tip that I can give you is #1, make sure that inside your S-Log profile, which for mine it was picture profile 7, make sure that the saturation is turned all the way down. And I think on my camera, which was the RX100, it's -17. And then make sure your sharpening is turned down all the way as well to minus, I believe 7 is the lowest it goes. That way you can add all the saturation and the sharpening back in. And then the final tip, which may be just as important, is S-Log requires that you shoot by overexposing your image, by overexposing it actually by 2 stops. So you may be like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna blow all the highlights out because 2 stops is a lot, and you know, that seems extreme. But if you go back to my original footage, this was shot +2 overexposed. So the easiest thing for me to do is a lot of times I'll shoot in like aperture priority or shutter priority and then set my exposure compensation to +2 so that it automatically adjusts the settings to get that for me. But if you want to go for a more manual exposure, just use your color meter, or excuse me, not color meter, light meter, and make sure that it's metering +2 on your display. And so again, if all of that's over your head, I apologize. For those of you that do understand, go out and you should get some awesome video. So +2 on the exposure, no saturation and no sharpening. Make sure those are all turned down within the S-Log2 picture profile. And then finally, if you still are lost, no big deal, because here in the near future, I'm going to make a tutorial where I show you how I shoot S-Log2 in a real world environment. So somewhere out in the Phoenix area. And then I'll come back with that footage and I will show you how to grade that color footage. In fact, I'll probably add a download link so you can color grade it with me. So again, if you love this tutorial, please subscribe, please comment with questions or feedback. I love feedback. I can take any kind of feedback that you think could help make these videos better. If you have a topic suggestion, please let me know. But again, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the little bell button so that you're notified when I post a video. But again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.